Hi, welcome to Tiny Teacup Reads. Thank you for being here. I recently purchased a bunch of books on Kindle and I wanted to share what I got with you. And if you know me personally and are about to give me a lecture about spending money on books when I still have a whole bunch of unread ones, don't. I did some digging and found a bunch of pretty affordable books, and I spent a grand total of €20 on 9 books, which I think is pretty good. There was no intentional theme to this haul, but I did get mostly historical ones, a bunch of fiction, but a few non-fiction. So let me show you what I got. So first off, I'm going to start with the 2 contemporary fiction books that I got. First off, I have First Time Caller by B.K. Barson. This is a contemporary romance focusing on a romance advice hotline and the relationship between the host and one of his callers. It looks cute and I thought it would be a really good spring read, and I've heard a bunch of good things about this one. Next is The Wedding People by Alison Espach. In this, the main character is mistaken for a wedding guest at this super fancy hotel that she's staying at while she's going through some personal stuff. The description calls it funny and tender, and it seems to be, I guess, about new starts in life, so I'm really interested to see if I like this one. Then we get to the historical fiction. I'm a huge fan of historical fiction, and I will happily read about any era, but this time I tried to actively search for some books set in time periods that I hadn't really explored before. Most historical fiction is usually set after the Middle Ages, so I wanted to go a little bit further back than that. The one that I'm most excited to get started with is called Sparrow by James Hines. This one is set in Spain towards the end of the Roman Empire. I don't think I've read anything about the Romans since I was about 10 and had a brief obsession with them while I was in school. The main character is a young slave boy who's being raised in a brothel, which I thought was a really interesting premise. The next book is called Skin by Ilke Tamke. The setting for this is Britain in 43 AD, and it focuses on a young woman who is kind of an outcast from her tribe as she struggles to find acceptance, which I'm sure will not go smoothly considering that that was the year that Britain was invaded by the Romans. Now, enough about the Romans. I am back a lot further in time. This is Death in the Time of Ice by K. George. This is about a tribe of Neanderthals, which I thought was such an interesting premise. I am fascinated by the evolution and development of humans, and the fact that there used to be more species of us which have completely disappeared and we're now the only ones left is something that just blows my mind every time I think about it. In this book, the leader of the tribe is murdered, and I'm really interested to see which direction the author decides to take with this book, considering that we don't really know a whole lot about the day-to-day life of Neanderthals. So there's a lot of scope for imagination here. Skipping back to something a little bit closer to our own time, this is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, which is the first book in the Mischief and Matchmaking series by Emma R. Albin. This is a sapphic Victorian romance, which really is all that I needed to know before purchasing it. In this, 2 young women who are supposed to be finding husbands for themselves have the brilliant idea of trying to get their 2 widowed parents together, and in the process get a lot closer to each other. It looks cute and fun, and I don't think I'm expecting it to be 100% historically accurate, but that's okay. Sometimes you just want something light. The last historical fiction book I have is The Maiden by Kate Foster. I read The King's Witches by this author earlier this year, which I thought was pretty good. This is set in Scotland in 1679 and is apparently inspired by the real-life trial of a lady who was arrested for the murder of her lover. It is promising drama and intrigue, and I am hoping it will be nice and juicy. That's it for my historical fiction books, and now I have 2 non-fiction books. First up is The Hollow Crown, The War of the Roses and the Rise of the Tudors by Dan Jones. This author has written a ton of historical books, so I'm going to give this one a try, and if I like it, I will definitely be checking out more of his. I know a little bit about the War of the Roses. I know that it was a really unstable time in Britain with a lot of transferal of power. I hope this won't only be about the kings and the wannabe kings, and I'm hoping it will go a little bit into how this power struggle affected the general population at the time. Royals are all well and fun, but it does get a little bit repetitive since they all seem to only have the same goal, which is to be on top. I think it's more interesting to see how somebody who would be me in this situation would be affected by all of this and is living during this time. And the last one, and I'm sorry, I have to read this title off my screen because I cannot remember it. This is Blood and Iron, The Rise and Fall of the German Empire, 1871 to 1918 by Katja Hoyer. I think this should be an interesting read, all about how the German Empire came to be and how it ended with the First World War. I'm just hoping it won't be too dry though. So that's it for all the books that I purchased in the month of March so far. Do you guys have any recommendations for historical books, either fiction or nonfiction, that you think I might enjoy? Please leave them in the comments below because I always need more. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that I will see you in the next video. Bye!